Welcome back to Morning Trade Live. Time to go inside out on Boeing and the airlines. Francis Stacy's with us, economic strategist, Scarlet Oak Financial. Thank you so much for being with us. Look, we have had a turnaround. There's been a lot of good news, leadership. Tell me some of the stories here.
Yeah, so if you just type Boeing news, there's so much news and so many tailwinds to this stock. It's actually hard to count them. Basically, they have their space program that's in addition to the demand that they have for their wide body, where they control the market. Airbus kind of still has the edge on the narrow body, but Boeing's got a lot going with it. I remember in a previous segment, I said nothing is actually going to replace Boeing. Who's going to replace Boeing? And so the demand from the government, they just launched the X-37B, which is in the Space Force lineup for counter space weapons. Okay, not an area of my expertise. It's up 36.78% this year. Most analysts have a price target of $258.17. That implies still a 9.5% upside from where we are now. Another big deal, Korean Air just agreed to buy 103 Boeing aircraft. And then the only little bit of a potential headwind that Boeing has is they have a potential strike. Those strike talks have been put off until after Labor Day.
And look, I mean, the fact that they have Ryanair reportedly expecting Boeing to increase the production of the 737 jets, the potential for China sales. China needs so many new planes. I know we're starting off with a few hundred, but goes into the thousands, and the new $3 billion revolving credit agreement. So the CEO basically really revived this stock. Kelly Artberg really revived this stock in his first year running this, right?
Yeah, this is one of the best comeback stories ever, other than I heard rumors that the CEO of FedEx went and gambled something at Vegas at one point and saved the company. But aside from that, this is pretty incredible. This really is just a demand story. And then you kind of juxtapose this to the global macro environment. And basically, the global macro environment right now is supporting the stock market. Liquidity is high. You've got a correlation for Boeing to the S&P 500, kind of in the high 80s, low 90s, depending on the time frame that you're looking at. And so basically, for downside protection, just looking at that August 1st low around 215, 50-day moving average around 223, just looking for those support levels and to hear more good news.
And then overall, I mean, what do you think about this stock potential? Right now, I mean, the high was 242, we're at 233, but certainly an incredible run. Yeah. Used to be 128.
Yes, indeed. Well, the analysts on the street have it at 258.17 as kind of the guesstimate. I assume that if the market remains, bullish, which right now it needs a catalyst to go lower. Basically, I think the rate cut from the Fed that Waller has projected a 25 basis point rate cut in September. I think that's kind of priced into yields. If they do 50 basis points, people are going to freak out about the economy. I will say there is a bit of a funny headwind in the economy. I was just randomly talking to one of my friends and prominent attorney in Las Vegas who represents a lot of the casinos. And he said that the casinos are down 25%. So there's some discretionary spending. Obviously, we have some softening in the labor market. If there is a sell-off in Boeing, it's probably going to be more global macro unless you have another idiosyncratic safety story.
All right. Francis, Stacy, great to see you. Economic strategist, Scarlet Oak Financial. Thank you. Time to trade it. We bring in Tom White, host of Fast Market, and you have a couple of trades for us. The first one being a bullish example trade. I mean, Francis was saying how a lot of the analysts do have price targets 250 plus. Talk about your bullish example trade.
Yeah, Nicole, Boeing just needs to stay out of the headlines as far as negative news goes. That's always been the Achilles heel for the stock, but it's had a great run. Shares are up, over 30% so far this year. And up about 80% from those lows that we saw in April. Production hikes is what I think the street's looking for. Ryanair CEO just came out recently and said they're probably going to ramp up production into the October month. So that'll be a bonus for them because they need production to get the balance sheet back in order and start getting some more free cash flow, which is what they anticipate. So I looked at a strategy that takes advantage of the rally that we've seen, the lower implied volatility levels for a directional bias trade here. Went out to the October monthly cycle, so 49 days to expiration. You got some time on this one. We're going to buy something that's basically at the money on this, and that's a 235 strike call. And then against it, because we want to offset some of the costs on the bullish call purchase, sell the 255 strike call. So a bullish $20 wide call vertical to the upside. You're going to pay roughly about, I've got a $7.50 debit for it. It's probably trading closer to $7. Stock has pulled back to about $2.34 this morning. But if you pay that $7.50 debit, it takes your break even up to $242.50 over the next basically month and a half here. That's only about 3% above the current share price. So you don't need a monster move to get above that break even. And all the way up to $255, it's still only about an 8% move to the upside. So you're offsetting some of the cost by selling the 255 against your long 235 strike call with the expectations that, hey, if they do start to ramp up production, if this trend that we're seeing as far as to the upside continues, you could easily get above that break even at 242.50 over the next 49 days.
All right, look, I mean, I saw Boeing is also seeking European Union approval to acquire Spirit AeroSystems. So that was reported yesterday by multiple news outlets. So we'll continue to follow that story, too, when it comes to Boeing. Thank you for that bullish example trade. Now you have one more that is more of a neutral trade, example trade.
Yeah, it's a little neutral to bullish. So you can take that same outlook here where you expect maybe the stock to go higher, but then you can start using probabilities if it doesn't go higher, if it starts to consolidate or even pulls back a little bit where you can still be profitable. So then we'll talk about trade-offs on this type of trade versus the call vertical purchase that we just talked about. So going out to the September monthly cycle, so 21 days to expiration. This one's got a shorter duration on it. We're going to, because of the rally that we've already seen, a lot of people might want to wait for a pullback here or do something like this strategy where you can sell it out of the money put vertical for a neutral to bullish bias on this one. Went out to that September monthly cycle, sold the 230 strike put that's out of the money to the downside. And then against it, because we want to stay risk defined, anything can happen in these names, by the 220 strike call. So neutral to bullish, $10 wide short put vertical, you're going to collect roughly, I've got a $2 credit on it. It's trading closer to $2.50 right now, so you can collect a little bit more option premium. But if you collect that $2 credit, that means your break even goes down to $2.28. That's about 3% below the current share price. So what you're doing on this one is you're using probabilities, right? The probability that that 230 strike will be out of the money at expirations over 60%. So there's the trade-off. So you've got more risk on this trade. Got $800 in risk to make only $200, right? But the probabilities of being successful on this type of position are in your favor, with nearly a 65% probability that the stock will remain above 230 into expiration over the next 3 weeks. So those are the trade-offs. Still directionally biased as far as a bullish trade here, but also giving yourself a decent 3% cushion to the downside before you get to that break even of 228 to the downside.
All right, Tom White, thank you for both of those example trades on Boeing today. Appreciate it. Great to see you, Tom. Thanks.